So the brain recognizes it's in a theta brainwave state and it begins to do all the things that it needs to do to rejuvenate itself. So this is really the ultimate hack, as far as I'm concerned, in biohacking your health. The statistics are horrific. When you look at stress and anxiety, they are responsible for 6 out of the top 10 reasons why Americans die of all-cause mortality. You remove the stress and anxiety, which stress is a good thing. Anxiety is not so great, but we all need stress. When you remove the stress and anxiety, those 6 reasons for death go away.
Welcome to the Crystal Zen podcast. I believe our bodies are a living map of the entire universe. All the answers reside within. Remember, you are sovereign, whole, and infinitely valuable. And the best gift we can give to the world is our own healing. Join me as we explore holistic tools, spiritual practices, and paradigms that are shifting the way people experience life, business, and relationships. I love to share education on the most recent medical research and cutting-edge technology on anatomy, neurology, trauma, development, and more to give us a foundation in understanding how to align, utilize, and upregulate our physical systems. Ultimately, this podcast is a witness and support to people on their journey of remembering, an inspiration for all of us to keep going, and a reminder that we are not alone. Welcome to the Crystal Zen podcast. Today I have Craig Goldberg on with me today, and I'm super excited about that. Welcome, Craig.
Well, grateful to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
So I first came across your material in actually your company, the vibroacoustic type of technology. So I'm wondering how you want to introduce yourself today, what you want us to know about you.
Well, oh gosh, there's so many layers. There's so many layers, Crystal, so many layers. Look, I think at the end of the day, my most recent work over the last 10 years has really about calming the nervous system through sound and vibration. But at the core, it's about living a healthy life. At the core, it's about understanding how the human body interacts with the world around it. And I think a little bit of knowledge goes a long way to better understanding how each of us, every single person that's listening right now, is having this first person person view of their life. Your world literally revolves around you. And I think if we went out your front door right now, and let's say we could find 100 people and we asked them, hey, would you like to feel better today than you did yesterday and better tomorrow than you did today? I think 100 out of 100 would say, absolutely. Yeah, sure. I want to do that. And that's great as a question, and in practice, what does that actually look like? And I think that comes from knowledge and understanding of how the human body works, how your nervous system has evolved over time, how it hasn't changed while the environment around us has changed quite a bit, and what it means to manage stress and anxiety, what it means to take an active role in recognizing how your body reacts to the world around it, what it's looking for. Often it's looking for danger, it's looking for stress, it's looking for life-threatening circumstances and instances and happenings, and what it means to manage that and take a first person responsibility for how your nervous system is interacting with the world around you. And really, once you get that down, and once you have a little bit of understanding, which we're going to go through today, you have a much broader set of tools available to you to operate optimally, to get after life. We were just talking before we started recording of some new things you have going on and a new schedule. The schedule is always changing. Change is always prevalent and relative in our lives. What was yesterday is not necessarily today. What is tomorrow is not necessarily what today will look like. So how do we manage that change? And how do we give ourselves better tools to attack that cool, calm, and collected instead of stressed and anxious, frazzled, and spread thin? How do we give ourselves the confidence to get after and charge life, whatever that looks like, as a parent, as as a significant other, as a husband, as a partner, whatever that looks like for me? How do I get after that with the gusto and the zest for life that I want to have versus what sometimes I feel like I have?
That was beautifully said. And I think everyone is just listening that would raise a hand and be like, yes, please, me. That's what I want. I wonder if you'd be willing to join me in this practice. So, somewhere towards the beginning of my podcast, I always offer a 60 or 90-second tune in. And I know I
Mm.
need it today because of all the things you mentioned. If some of my listeners don't, they know to just fast forward 90 seconds. But if you'd be willing to join me,
Absolutely.
I would love to do this tradition. Just close our eyes, tune in. If the listeners are in a place where it's safe to do so, close your eyes. If not, you can still join us by noticing the parts of your body that are touching the ground beneath you. And then observe your very next breath. Notice where that lands in your body. And then see if you can perceive the vibrations just around your head, maybe on the surface of your skin. No need to change anything or do anything, just the power of observation brings us into presence. Which is one of our greatest and arguably our only gift we have to give to the world. So we'll take the next 3 breaths very personally and practically, but the little spin on it will be to try and do less on your inhale and release more on your exhale. Listen to the sound, feel the vibration once again. And when you come to that third and final breath, cultivate a sense of completion. Everything's back in its place. And I'm fully here now. Blink your eyes open when you're ready. And as we're coming back, I just want to express gratitude because that's always the first thing I feel when I come back to the present moment. And I believe that's the only thing that's real. I have a bunch of cool questions for Craig, and I know he's going to break down neurologically, somatically, all these ways of what is actually happening in our nervous system and these emotions.
It feels good.
Thank you.
Ah.
I thought maybe you were going to get up and go into that chair behind you
Believe me, I thought about it.
because that's
And
the magic, right?
well, look, even if you wanted to rewind 2 minutes and just watch myself and how I changed with the breath.
Yeah.
The mantra that I'm reminded of as you were guiding us through that, which was really simple. That was easy. Anybody can do that anytime. It's just a few deep breaths and coming into the present moment of recognizing and tapping into your body and the environment that you're in. And there's a lot of different things that are flowing through my head right now, but
Mm.
the breath controls the mind controls the body is the mantra that I'm reminded of. And we all have this tool available to us to recognize, which we're going to talk about, when the mind is racing and you don't feel focused and you feel scattered and you're not sure exactly what to focus, right? Like we've all been there, frazzled, as I like to call it. And what was that? A minute and a half, 2 minutes of just closing your eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath, nice slow exhale, coming back into your body in the present moment. Maybe I was saying to myself, I got this, all is well, this too shall pass. And with each breath, going deeper and deeper into my body, into the current moment. And the difference of how I feel now versus how I felt even as we were just doing the introduction and the opening. All the things I wanted to say, everything that I wanted to get out artistically and beautifully. And then hearing myself say it and not being as happy with the outcome, but now all of a sudden you can even hear the change in my voice. It's a little slower. It's a little more deliberate. that changes everything. We just reset our nervous system in 90 seconds. You just took a proactive stance to your body to say, let's slow this down a little bit. Let me take a moment to get back into my body, and let me take a moment to get grounded. Feel your feet touching the ground. I immediately felt my hands. I immediately felt my skin touching the armrest. And I naturally began to shift backwards, right? I naturally began to relax into this beautiful chair that I'm sitting in, and allowing my weight to go towards the ground. And that's the feeling of grounding that people talk about. It's it's not this elusive feeling. Grounded simply means centered, focused in your body, giving yourself an opportunity to think and to have the space to think within your own mind, which is constantly racing. I have an entire talk that I do on the science of mindfulness. Like, what actually just happened during that flow? What was neurologically happening? What was happening in our body? What was happening in our brain? What was happening through our five senses? And that's that knowledge that I was talking about. There's the there's the description of what actually just happened, which, if you took part in that practice that we just did, you didn't, let's just say, fast forward. Like, you gave everybody an out and a cue, and it's really easy to be like, "Oh, I'm just going to fast forward." But if you took the 90 seconds to take a few deep breaths with us, you now know exactly what we're talking about, because you have a first person perspective of how that feels for you. And we could talk about the science of what we know of what just happened in the body. And I think that's a really important conversation. But that preparation is what sets you up for gold in the next happening of your life, whatever that is. Whether it's picking the kids up from school and shedding what was so that you can be present with your kids, whether it's walking into your house so that you can be present for your significant other and your family from shedding work and whatever was happening at work, whether it was a phone call, a meeting, an experience, a thought, whatever it was that triggered that nervous system response of stress and anxiety, immediately shifting that into parasympathetic, that rest and digest. And immediately, I at least am overcome with, I got this. I can handle this. I go from frazzled, where I don't know if I can handle this. I don't know what's going on. I don't feel centered. I don't feel grounded, to, I got this. This is cool. Let's have a conversation and let's drop in. And there are so many different relative touch points for this practice over the course of the day. It's easy, it's free. And that's what we're doing when we say re-regulating the nervous system, or nervous system regulation, which is the buzzword of the last 3 to 6 months. That's what we're talking about of how to do it. Now, there's lots of other tools, and that's what our company is built around: sound, vibration. But it's all about getting into what they call a meditative state. All that is taking a few deep breaths, allowing the brain to slow down, allowing the thoughts to flow through passively, so that you can focus on what you want to focus on and where you want to go. As I get a
Yeah,
phone call.
that was so cool because it sounds like what you're describing is largely an accessibility issue. Like when we're in this state with the nervous system and all of that, frazzled and all these words, in contrast, picturing in your mind, I love all those little touch points right before you pick up your kids, right before you start a meeting, right before you enter an important conversation. The difference between the state of being frazzled and the state of being able to be present in what you have access to, like you said, memory, your
Yeah.
speech, your attitude of I've got this, my attitude of oh, I really wanted to feel gratitude. And so I wonder if you would be willing to start there where your brain went, which is to touch on however deep you want to go on that overview of what is actually happening there. And the container I want to put on that, from what I know about my listeners and anything else that's going on with people, and what I've heard is a lot of parenting things, like things are going on with your kids, things are going
There's
on,
always stuff going on.
yeah, family,
Life is happening.
the news, think of anything you're bombarded with in media. And if we could, and this is what I'm going to do as you describe this, because I love this, you know, I'm such a science geek. I want us to think about how that could apply to maybe the most recent situations where it didn't go well, or situations you know are coming up in the future, and how to make those text to text connections, as Craig kind of gives us, like, this is what's going on in your heart. This is what's going on in your brain, right? With your breath. And having the knowledge, I think, predecesses being able to embody the tools, hands down.
All
So,
right, so look, it's a great question, and it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. Okay,
I know.
look, I mentioned before, we each have this first person view of the world around us.
Yes.
Quite literally, you are the center of your world. It's not an ego thing, although it is driven by your ego, but it's not an egotistical thing like I'm the best, like my world revolves around me. No, quite literally, our brain has a first person perspective on what's happening around us, like in that first person, like that FPV, right? The first person view video game, where granted it's mostly guns and you're walking around, right? But like the reality is you have a first person view of your world, your kids, your family, your job, your work, the to-do list, all of the different things, taking care of the household, taking care of the cars, taking care of the mail, taking care of, we have this checklist of things that we want to get accomplished over the course of the day. Sometimes that aligns with the immediate people in our household and their checklist. Sometimes it doesn't. That creates conflict. At the end of the day, your nervous system, which is how we perceive the world around us. So that first person view is through your sense of sight. You're seeing the world around you. Through your sense of touch, you're feeling the world around you. Through your sense of hearing, you're hearing the world around you. And the brain, which is processing electrical signals perceived through your nervous system, your five senses. Your world is literally a perception of your reality. And we could talk about what's happening in the brain neurologically and how what you think is happening actually isn't happening. It's a perception, it's a prediction of what's actually happening around you, which is a little bit of a deeper consciousness conversation. But let's talk about your nervous system and how it evolved. Your nervous system evolved to identify threats. It's that simple. Your ego, which is what creates your instance, your first person perspective, establishes you as an individual. It establishes time, it establishes place, and it keeps you alive. That is the whole purpose. Now, as you sit in that beautiful earthy background that we were talking about, and I sit in this beautiful, more digital, lit differently environment, they're pretty safe. I don't know exactly what's happening on the other side of those walls, but I'm assuming it's nobody's trying to kill you. And right, like it seems like a really safe, beautiful environment that you've built for yourself. And I have too. And frankly, that's the environment that every single person who's listening right now is sitting in for the most part. Life is pretty safe these days. I don't have anybody knocking down my door. I don't have anything, drastic happening in the streets. It's actually a really quiet neighborhood. And if I walked outside, I could sit outside on my front stoop and I probably wouldn't see somebody because I live in a very specific part of Vegas where I'm unincorporated. I might not see another human except maybe a neighbor all day long, let alone a threat. Your nervous system has evolved over time to look for and evaluate threats. And what do you find when you're looking for something? Exactly what you're looking for. So your brain is hardwired to look for threats, and we have to take time to hardwire it to tell it that, hey, there is no threat right now, all's good. Otherwise, it's going to constantly be looking for threats. And once it identifies a threat, or since it's looking for a threat, it wants to find one. So it will make a threat out of something that really isn't a threat. The body and the brain only has one response to that stress, and that is the sympathetic nervous system response. Kicks in adrenaline, kicks in cortisol, gets you hyper-focused on what's happening, which is when we start to get frazzled for a variety of different reasons. So we have two different brainwave states. The sympathetic nervous system response, which is stressed and anxious, which we're supposed to be in for a short period of time while we deal with whatever that threat is. And then the parasympathetic nervous system response, which is otherwise known as rest and digest. The terms that I like for these two, the sympathetic nervous system response is survival mode. It has a very specific connotation when I use those words. The parasympathetic nervous system response, rest and digest, yes, but it's also maintenance mode. So think survival mode versus maintenance mode. And when you're in survival mode, the body has a different set of priorities. It is diverting. We all have one, let's call it 100% of energy over the course of the day. It's different for everybody, but you have a finite amount of energy to do all the things that your body wants to do to maintain itself. And when you go into survival mode, those priorities change. The largest use of energy in the body is the brain. It uses about 20% of your daily energy output. It goes through the brain. Second to that is digestion. So if I'm in maintenance mode, then I have my full brain capacity to think, to evaluate, and to concern myself with the to-do list. Let's keep it simple. And I'm digesting my food. Most of us are eating. That's why intermittent fasting is so important to a healthy lifestyle. But let's just say you're eating from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed. 20% of your energy is going towards digestion. You have an immune function that you need to deal with. You might be trying to get pregnant. You have reproductive organs that you want to focus some energy on. So when you're in maintenance mode, your body is diverting energy to all these different things. Introduce a threat. If it's a real threat, how much of your energy do you want to divert from maintenance mode to survival mode? All of it, right? If God forbid somebody knocks down your door, right? All of a sudden, you're not thinking rationally. You're not concerned about your immune system. You're not concerned about your reproductive organs. You're not concerned about digestion. All hands on deck, red alert, focus our attention on survival mode so that this being can survive, which is the old adage of how our nervous system are getting chased by a saber-toothed tiger, right? Like, how much of your energy do you want to fight off that threat? All of it.
It reminds me of Star Trek when they're like, all power to the forward thrusters.
100%, right? It's a great analogy. It's a great metaphor, right?
And we don't have a choice, is what you're saying. You're saying that's what will happen.
Regardless of what that threat is, when your body triggers into survival mode, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, nutritional, financial, relational, think of all these different threats that come into our purview over the course of the day that your brain is looking to find a threat in, it will find one. Now, most of those are not life-threatening. Financial might be, right? If you start, I just lost my job. Okay, that could be life-threatening. Now, all of a sudden, you're not sure how you're going to put food on the table, not sure how you're going to get clean water, not sure how you're going to pay for your shelter. That could be life-threatening. We want to deal with that and focus on that. But relational, I can't believe my husband is doing that thing. My wife is doing that thing. I can't believe my sister is back together with that guy again. He's terrible for her. I see it. Why doesn't she see it? Right? The stress and the turmoil that goes through the head. Again, when you're in survival mode, your body turns off all of those maintenance tasks. It says, I don't need my full capacity of my brain. Let's take 18% of that energy, just to pick a random number. Let's take 18% of that energy and put it towards survival. The cortisol and the adrenaline puts strength into all of your muscles so that you can fight or run. If it's something that's mental, emotional, nutritional, relational, financial, you don't need the cortisol and the adrenaline to flow through your muscles. You actually want the brain capacity to think through that solution and find that solution. When your body is diverting energy in that sympathetic nervous system response, and it's diverting energy from maintenance mode into survival mode, your body is almost incapacitated in dealing with what you actually needed to deal with because of evolution, because we haven't evolved to handle all the daily stressors that we see today. And we're so focused on that physical stressor of that physical life-threatening scenario when we're not really in life-threatening scenarios every single day. And yet so many of us are living in fight or flight all day long, day after day, week after week, month after month. And what In Harmony is focused on, and you just started with this beautiful mindfulness meditation that we did, is giving tools that can help you to get back into that parasympathetic nervous system response as quickly as possible, to kick in the chemical cascades associated with that parasympathetic maintenance mode so that your body can maintain itself the way it was so beautifully designed to do it. One more point. When you're in survival mode, and you're in survival mode from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed, day after day, week after week, month after month, the body is not maintaining itself. It is in a stressed state. And that's when we start to develop all these chronic ailments, chronic issues, and a whole wealth of health issues that begin to develop because you're turning off rational thinking, because you're turning off parts of your immune system, because you're not digesting your food, because you're turning off your reproductive organs. So, and those are only four. I just choose the big four because those are so relative. How many people do you know that are trying to get pregnant that can't get pregnant? If you're stressed and anxious, your brain is literally turning off your reproductive organs and diverting that energy to survival mode. If I'm big into diet and nutrition, right? And I have long conversations in my household around what to eat, what not to eat, what's good for you, what isn't, what causes inflammatory response, what doesn't. And then obviously the wrestling over what you ate is as stressful. But it doesn't matter how clean, how organic, how amazing and food derived the nutritional supplement is you're taking, or how clean the food is that you're eating. if you're stressed and anxious because your body is diverting energy from digestion to survival mode.
Wow.
So now all of a sudden it doesn't matter how organic your kale is and how you're not eating seed oils and how you're focused on olive oil and this fantastic multivitamin that you're taking that's all food derived supplementation. It doesn't matter. If you're stressed and anxious, you're literally pulling the rug out from underneath your body's ability to maintain itself. And this is why In Harmony exists, to give people passive tools that they can use over the course of the day to kick in the chemical cascades, to keep you in parasympathetic so your body can be in maintenance mode so it can maintain itself the way it was so beautifully and elegantly designed to do so, versus being in survival mode where your body has that different set of priorities and it's not maintaining itself. It's actually just trying to keep itself alive. And if you're in a life-threatening situation, that's great. Most of us aren't over the course of the day.
Wow. That's so cool and so relatable.
It's literally how every single person listening right now,
Yeah.
you included,
Yeah.
it's literally how your nervous system operates. And all of a sudden, now you can recognize, all right, when I'm in survival mode, what are the physiological features and symptoms that I can recognize? Shortness of breath, scattered thinking, maybe sweat, maybe your skin is flush. You just don't feel like you can get things done. I'll give you a great example. Sleep is the number one biohack, hands down.
Yeah.
Sleep is the number one thing that you can do to feel your best over the course of the day. And this is also relative, I think. You know how you feel when you got a great night's sleep. And by contrast, how you feel when you didn't get a good night's sleep. You got kids. I got a daughter. She climbs into my bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, because the worst is if she wet her bed or if she had an accident or something that has to get me out of bed, versus just a quick wake up of like, hey, I want to sleep with you, Dad. And it's like, okay, cool, let's cuddle, and we just go back to bed. But if I got to get up in the middle of the night, and that's fine if it happens one night a week, but what if it happens 3 nights in a row? What do you like on that fourth day?
Yeah.
You don't have everything. You're coming from a place of deficiency and exhaustion.
I have a picture of that T-Rex dinosaur instead of, the Mary Poppins mama. You're just like,
Mary Poppins, great example. Cool, calm, and collected. That woman could handle anything, right? Like, just did not give a about what was happening around her. She was like, it's all good. She let it all go. It's all good. I'll handle it. Oh, don't worry about it. A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. And I'm just thinking, sugar? You're giving a kid sugar?
I know.
Right? But she's like, no, it's all good. They're getting the medicine down. A little bit of sugar, it's fine. Mary Poppins, cool, calm, and collected. That's the way you want to show up. I call it like the Fonz, right? The Fonz is just cool. It's all good.
And how
right? Versus,
I kind of want to circle back real quick because you're saying so many amazing things. And with the Mary Poppins thing as well. So what I'm hearing is that Eastern medicine has known this for a long time, and the science and research now is corroborating this story that the foundational piece is the vibration, the energetics, the intention, your nervous system, even before nutrition, even before sleep, even before all these other things that you're talking about. We are really honing on In Harmony and, just these practices in general, going to the depth of that origination base layer of what's going to get you actual real life change, right? Something that's sustainable, something that's actually going to not just be a band-aid or a surface level behavior modification. And when you labeled survival mode versus maintenance, I love that language. I love the scientific language of rest and digest versus action or threat response or something like that. And I do want to hear your thoughts on this as well, especially in these women groups I've been in, trying to work on this nervous system regulation and things in all areas of their life, including their careers. If survival shows up a lot like performance, it seems like maintenance is showing up a lot like authenticity.
So each emotion that we feel holds a vibration in the body. Do you know the highest vibration?
I've heard it,
emotion?
Authenticity, but I think we need to qualify and describe that better.
So if you asked me that question 2 years ago, I probably would have said love or gratitude. These are very high vibrations. And you know how you feel when you're feeling grateful, Like, I mean, like deep rooted, like looking at your kids and their health and how amazing your household is on a day where everything just went right. And you're like, oh, that was a good day. I just got chills. Let's have that day over and over again, right? Being grateful. So researchers figured out that being authentic is actually the highest vibration on the planet. Crystal, who knows if you're being authentic?
Probably just me.
Only you.
Mm.
We can sit down and have a conversation, and I could get a feel that this is the authentic Crystal. But when you say things, you know if it's your authentic self, and you're the only one who knows if it's your authentic self. So the highest vibration that we can hold is actually being authentic, telling the truth based on our own beliefs, our own morals, whatever that looks like. It could be religious based, doesn't matter. It's whatever made crystal up till now, the decisions that you've made, the morality that you've developed, and how you project yourself out there to be your authentic self. That includes boundaries. That includes yesing people and just being agreeable, like, oh yeah, we'll do that, even though you don't want to do that, right? It's like you're not being authentic. Just speak up and say, you know what? You can either be honest and say, Crystal, I'm so sorry. I just don't want to do that. That sounds awful. Going camping out in the desert for 4 hours, which I love to do, by the way. And I might be like, Crystal, come with me and my family. We're gonna go four-wheeling and we're gonna go out in the desert. And like my wife, for example, love her, beautiful, blessed, amazing soul. She doesn't enjoy it. She enjoys camping in her RV, but like taking out the side by side and getting dusty and dirty, that's just not our forte. Say that, honey, I really don't enjoy doing that. I'm going to go to the nail salon, or I'm going to just hang here at the house and enjoy some silence while you take the family out going to do that. Fantastic. You're being your authentic self. I love that for you. That's amazing. How many times over the course of the day do we discount our own authenticity to please other people? And how does that feel in our nervous system? And how does that feel in our minds that we didn't set a boundary? Instead of just being like, no, I really don't love that. That sounds awful. Like we got offered free tickets to a reggae concert. I love reggae. I really do. But coordinating a crew of 10 friends to go there, and pushing that and making that happen, bringing my 6-year-old and my parents and everybody else, it just really didn't sound fun to me. Like, would it be fun? Yes. Would it be great? Yes. Would it be a great experience? Yes. Not at the top of my list of what I wanted to do with my Saturday afternoon, as I found out at almost midnight Friday night, because I had my own expectations of what I wanted to do on Saturday, and now all of a sudden, I just didn't feel up to it. So I set that boundary, like, hey, honey, I'm really glad we're not going. Actually, that's awesome. And I took my daughter out, and we went to Ninja Kids, and I had a nice little daddy-daughter date. That's what I wanted to do that day. It was great. A little one-on-one time with my daughter, right? So setting those boundaries and being your authentic self, really, really important in every facet of your first person view of your world, whether it's business, parenting, partnership, all of it. Even if it's just how you spend your time. Being authentic to knowing what you're capable of doing in that moment, what you want to do, and setting boundaries around that. It's the highest vibration that we can hold, and you're the only one that knows if you're being truly authentic or not. And once you hold that vibration of authenticity, wow, I really feel good about how I created that boundary. I really feel good about how I spoke my mind, right? How I followed my gut, my intuition of what I did or didn't want to do. And maybe you'll make the right decision. Maybe you'll make the wrong decision. But at the time, you are following your gut and your intuition and being true to yourself. And that is the most important aspect. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to, in hindsight, be that Monday morning quarterback that's like, oh, I really shouldn't have done that. I wish I did go to that reggae concert. I wish I didn't go to the desert, whatever. That's okay. But in the moment, you are your authentic self and you listen to yourself about what you want and what you didn't. And sometimes it takes a few deep breaths and getting into your body and going through that mindfulness exercise that we went through at the beginning to even hear your intuition, to even understand who your authentic self is, to even have the confidence to say, I know what I want and that's what I want to go get in the short term for the right now and for the future as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about the gap, like the huge cavern between even just in the moment, like when we started the podcast and I was like, I can't, I'm running from something and the time changed and then knowing how to access the tool, which I will always advocate for myself to be like, I need this. because it will help you and me and, and getting to where you need to go. But I think more importantly, the bigger gap in our life where you actually start seeing character changes, egoic changes, personality changes on a bigger scale. And I know you have a whole company that has products to fill this gap. So once again, personal stories, or tell us about the products or the tools that you most adhere to bridging that gap, not just temporarily, but like actually, being able to step over that cavern and have some embodied experiences where you look back and you go, whoa, I really love the way I was able to show up for that hard experience. My youngest daughter, her horse passed away 2 days ago, actually, just Monday night. And
Mm,
it was the biggest thing she's dealt with in her life thus far. She's 8 years old. This is the love of her life. We had a lot of
mm.
plans. Anyways, if anyone, horses, you grew up with
I
horses.
do.
I
I
mean,
did.
they're less hardy than chickens, and we spend all of our money, all of our heart, all of our time into them. We know what we're signing up for. That was one experience for me, really personal and still really vulnerable. There's still lots of tears every day, where I can reflect back on the moments in that experience and really got to watch like my embodied avatar and the different skills I was working with, going, whoa, I can really see a difference in the way I was present with that than I would have been 10 years ago.
So I immediately think about the example that I shared before, which was how do you feel after a great night's sleep versus how do you feel after a poor night's sleep versus how do you feel after 3 nights in a row of a great night's sleep versus how you feel after 3 nights in a row. Right? We have that deficit that you're
Yeah, that
working.
cumulative effect.
So to me, it comes down to prevention and then acute, like management, right? So it's like it's no different than diet and nutrition for a healthy body versus I broke my arm and I have to go to the hospital, right? So recognizing in the moment the shortness of breath and taking yourself through a minute and a half exercise in the moment to better handle what you're being presented with because you recognize your nervous system. That's kind of like the latter. That's kind of like I just broke my arm and I need some emergency care and let's get after it. Right? First one is to recognize you're in that moment. However, those moments are spread out and separated when you focus on the prevention beforehand, when you manage and you protect your sleep, when you give yourself that mindfulness and meditation. So waking up in the morning and giving yourself a minute and a half of that exercise every single morning before the threat is in front of you, before the frazzle comes over you, before the brain is scattered and not focused. That prevention is worth so much more over the long run because you are literally reconditioning your nervous system. So that's what our technology is all about. That's what our music meditations are all about. That's what our company is all about. I am committing myself. I've been with my technology. We've been doing this for 10 years. Okay. There are stretches where I won't get on my technology for 4 days, 5 days. And my wife will grab me as I'm in the middle of something and she'll be like, when was the last time you did a sound lounge? That's our technology, right? The zero gravity recliner that's behind us, and we have sound lounges and this different technology. And we'll get into our tech, but it's like my wife will be like, when was the last time you did a sound lounge? I'll be like, you know what? It's been a while. I'm going to do one right now. I need it. And now I'm committing myself to every single day, at least 10 minutes, 11 minutes on my sound lounge underneath the red light, right? Because I could sit like everybody else. I could sit at my desk all day long from 8 in the morning until my daughter comes home from school at 4 o'clock and not take care of myself, but just manage the flow of the business and life and the household and get caught up in all those things instead of giving myself a break. I talked a lot about sleep. Here's the quote around sleep and meditation. Sleep and meditation is nothing more than a conscious perception of a slower brainwave state. And this is really important because, Crystal, when you have the perception of, let's say, 10 o'clock at night, if you're lucky, you get to lay down and go to bed, and 8 o'clock in the morning, the next morning you wake up, or 6 or whatever it is. Your perception of what you just did is sleep, but your brain wasn't sleeping. Your brain was actually rejuvenating, regenerating, cleaning up and taking care of, killing off dead cells, right? Taking you in and out of, maybe you were dreaming. Maybe you were working on something in your body to help blood flow or a wound, right? Let's say you got a cut that afternoon. Well, your immune system is closing up that hole. It's the white blood cell, right? Like your body is doing things. Your autonomic nervous system is still operating. So you're breathing and your heart is still pumping and all of these processes are still happening. Your brain doesn't lay down and turn off for the night, right? Your brain is still going. So conscious perception of what's actually happening. You're not actually sleeping. Your perception of what's happening is you're going to sleep and you're waking up, hopefully feeling stronger and better than you did the night before, well rested, right? Meditation is a close second for that. So I'll give you a great example. My wife had an event. She does face chains and body jewelry, and we had an event last Thursday night. And I love my parents that now live with us, so we had a babysitter, and we went out to this event. Got there at 6, left at 12:30 in the morning. By the time we got home, unpacked, head hit the pillow, it was 2 a.m. Daughter wakes up at 6:45. I got, what, 4.5 hours, 5 hours of sleep? Okay. Again, one
Really?
night, no problem. Yeah. Look, conscious decision I made to stay out until 2 in the morning, or make sure I was up until 2 in the morning. And the next day, what did I do the next day? Well, I made sure I got a sound lounge session in as soon as my daughter went to school. I did 5-10 minutes just to kind of give myself that top off of energy. Mindfulness. As the brain is moving in and out of these different brainwave states, it's doing different things. So when I close my eyes to meditate for even a minute and a half, and you obviously want to do this a lot longer because it takes time to move in and out of these different brainwave states. But as my brain recognizes it's in an alpha, theta, delta, or up into gamma brainwave state, away from beta, processing the world around us, the to-do list and the things that I know I have to get done, the brain rejuvenates itself and maintains the body. So 20 minutes in meditation, 20 minutes on our sound lounge, music induces different brainwave states. It takes you into that alpha and theta brainwave state, which is theta is the brainwave state that we're in during rapid eye movement sleep. And we sleep in 90 minutes. I'm kind of jumping over a lot of different things right now, but it's good things for people to deep dive into. So we sleep in 90-minute sleep cycles, okay? And this is why docs, people say you want to sleep 7 to 9 hours. It's actually 7.5 to 9 hours. 90 minutes, 1.5 hours, one sleep cycle. 2 sleep cycles, 3 hours. 3 sleep cycles, 4.5. All right. Okay. 4 sleep cycles, 6 hours. 5 sleep cycles, which is kind of the magic number, 7.5 hours of sleep. 6 sleep cycles in a row, back to back, and you've got 9 hours of sleep. We need to move in and out. There's 5 stages to sleep. Stage 1. So think of it as a wave of this 90-minute block, and you're starting at beta, and you're moving down into a theta or delta brainwave state, and then you're coming back up over that 90-minute sleep cycle. Stage 1, 2, 3, and 4 prep your body for sleep. Stage 5 is REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, and that's when we're in theta and delta. That's when cellular rejuvenation happens. That's when restoration and rejuvenation in the brain happens. There's a lot of different things. I'm kind of keeping this very simplified and very basic. You're not moving in and out of those different sleep cycles. And if you're not stringing enough of those together, you're not getting enough time in that theta and delta brainwave state to maintain yourself. Now, here's the hack. And here's why my company, I think, is so fabulous and so fantastic. 20 minutes on my sound lounge and our technology is equivalent to about 4 hours of sleep. Because the body and the brain is going straight through the first 4 stages of sleep, and it's going straight to stage 5, which is theta and delta brainwave state. We're taking you there very quickly. So the brain recognizes it's in a theta brainwave state, and it begins to do all the things that it needs to do to rejuvenate itself. So this is really the ultimate hack, as far as I'm concerned, in biohacking your health. The statistics are horrific. When you look at stress and anxiety, they are responsible for 6 out of the top 10 reasons why Americans die of all-cause mortality. You remove the stress and anxiety, which stress is a good thing. Anxiety is not so great, but we all need stress. When you remove the stress and anxiety, those 6 reasons for death go away. Pretty wild. It's why I do what I do at In Harmony, and it's why we focus on the nervous system, and it's why we focus on helping the body get out of sympathetic and into parasympathetic more often. The sympathetic nervous system response, that survival mode, that was this maintenance mode, the survival mode that we talked about before, the reason it's so bad is not because we're going into it. It's not because we're spending 20 minutes stressed. It's because we're spending all day in a chronically stressed state and in that survival mode all day long. So we want to find tools, and there are many, that can help us get into that maintenance mode more often and spend more time in that maintenance mode. It'll lead to better sleep. It'll lead to you being a better human. It'll lead to you having more mental capacity to handle more, to show up. going back to that good night's sleep scenario, when you wake up and you had a great night's sleep, let's say you're traveling, you're on vacation, whatever, right? Like the kids aren't around, you don't have anything to think about, you can turn off that part, and you get a great night's sleep. Is there anything the next day can throw at you that will throw a hook? Not really,
Yeah.
right? Like flat tire, no problem, we'll take care of it. I'll just call AAA, whatever, right? But on the contrast, when you get a poor night's sleep, every single little thing throws you into a tailspin and triggers that nervous system. And you feel like, I just can't, not today. I just can't, not today. So we want to make sure the body is rested, rejuvenated, and sound and vibration guides the mind, body, and spirit into that deeper meditative state. As fast as we just did with the minute and a half, 90-second practice that we went through at the beginning, a little longer, you go a little deeper, and that's that maintenance versus the acute, you know. Think of that minute and a half, that 90-second practice as like surgery of like, hey, I just need to pull myself out of this versus 5 to 10 minutes of maintenance mode and prevention in the beginning of your day or the end of your day or on some type of regular schedule. And you're going to have a much different outlook on your capabilities and a much different outlook on life as to what you're capable of and what you can get done. And sound and vibration is a passive way to do it. So when you're laying on this sound lounge, inside there, what we call a tactile transducer. This is what it looks like. It's a piece of audio equipment. They're made custom for us. You can see the black and the red. It's like plugging in any other speaker. But what this does is it translates the music that you're listening to into vibration. So it focuses on the low end frequency of the music. Think those deep bass lines of a reggae track versus classical music, which is a little bit more ethereal and a little bit more high frequency. The tactile transducers that are underneath, they tap into the mechanoreceptors in the body, your sense of touch. It literally wraps you in a cocoon of sound and frequency that feels like you're in the womb, feels like there's a lot of relevancy to that too. And it literally just ushers in a calm and relaxed nervous system. There's a ton of science that talks about what we do. I'm kind of taking a very high level to this right now, but when you feel the same thing you're hearing, this is what kicks in those chemical cascades. I call it relaxation from the outside in. So when you notice that you're in that stressed state, you can recognize that. Or you can just say, you know what, every day at noon, I'm going to do a sound lounge session. Every day at 8 a.m., I'm going to do a sound lounge session. Whatever works for your schedule. Every night before I go to bed, I'm going to do a sound lounge session. Or all three, if you want. Can't overdo it. What you're doing when you're laying down in the sound lounge is you're re-regulating your nervous system.
Yeah.
And you're telling your nervous system, you're teaching your nervous system how to spend more time calm and relaxed versus stressed and anxious. And it will follow suit. It will spend more time calm and relaxed versus stressed and anxious.
It will accumulate. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And we as humans know this. And so I love that what you have produced brings, like, once again, all those foundational principles right back in. And we know it because it's like, yeah, that's what happened to us in the womb. That's what happens when you rock a baby. That's what happens when you go to therapy or you do EMDR. It's like, it's all this co-regulation that you need to sync up, right? Be in coherence with the heart, the body, the brain. And it's so beautiful, so accessible, because it's so much harder to like try to find a human being to do that for you, right? Like, rock me.
Well, but then you're also looking to the outside.
Totally.
Right? When in reality, we have the power and the autonomy and everything we need on the inside. Look, you mentioned this briefly. Sound and vibration. Humans have been singing and dancing since the beginning of time.
Oh, yeah.
The oldest vibroacoustic device, I just showed you a tactile transducer, but the oldest vibroacoustic device is the throat.
I know. And I'm glad you said that resonance at the beginning of this discussion too, because I could hear that resonance in your voice when it changed too. And I was like, wow, that just feels so grounding, even just to listen to it. Because I know we have short time. I wanted to hear one more thought, if you're willing.
I want to talk more.
On that, I know. I should just have you back on, because I feel like you barely scratched the surface. And I do want the listeners to know, on your website, you have all of those tabs that I was looking through, with a ton of links to research, to a lot of these things, actually. Here's a big question that I kind of have for you. Once again, personal story or just what you know. When you're participating in these practices and tools, and we're re-regulating, we're spending more time here, we can access our stories, our brains, our lives, our hearts more. What do you think happens in regards to like trauma processing or overcoming things when you're on these tables and using vibroacoustic therapy?
Oh boy. Okay.
I
Um,
know. Do it in 2 minutes. Just kidding. You need a whole
I, I,
podcast,
I
Dan.
got it. Well, look, nobody gets out of life without trauma. Not
Hmm.
one of us. Not one of us. You have kids. I have a daughter. Um, I had my own childhood. My parents now live with me. Um, I had a great childhood. I got nothing to complain about. My dad and my grandfather were in business together. They did very well for themselves. I had a great childhood. Anything I wanted, I had. It was beautiful. When I sit down and I do the work of my childhood, I I was traumatized. Didn't realize it until I started doing the work. And I've had this conversation now with my dad, and we both ball together. My dad left every morning at 7. He took the 7:17 train to the city in the morning. He got back at 6:35 at night, every night. That was traumatizing to me. I didn't have my dad for most of my childhood. He worked. And then he shut down that business and he started working from home. And then all of a sudden I saw him all day long. And until I started processing my childhood and doing the deep work to recognize how I felt through meditation, through mindfulness, through hypnosis, I started to realize just how traumatized I was. My parents, not only that, I left New York. I grew up on Long Island in New York, and I left in 2010 with my now wife. We were together for 18 years, and I never looked back. I tell people I got out of the New York City tri-state area early for time served. It just wasn't my favorite place. I had a great childhood. I love it there. I have a bunch of family and friends there. But like as far as living, I'd much rather be in Vegas or on the West Coast, which is where I've been for the last since 2010. It's 2026.
Mhm.
My parents just moved in with me on July 1st. They retired. They moved out of New York and they moved in with me. The first week that they were here, after going through all the trauma that is to move and to pack up your life and all those things, I realized how much I missed my parents, how much trauma that had caused, and it all came rolling back in to a point where now I just want to sit next to my dad. I just want to spend time in their auric field and around them. And I feel so grateful each and every day because of that. If you looked at my life, you would say, Craig, you had the greatest life in the world. And don't get me wrong, I got into trouble. It was a different time then. I got smacked more often and I deserved it every single time. Like, I get it, right? But now, as I look at my daughter, I don't want her to have a traumatic experience. I want to do whatever I can to coddle and protect her. And we all know you can't do that. She's going to have traumatic experiences. She's going to have something that I don't even think is traumatic, but she will reflect on as a core memory of like, Dad, I can't believe you said that thing. And it was just nothing that I even think would be traumatic. So I know it was a little bit of a long kind of setup here, but none of us get out of life without trauma. But it's how we reflect upon that trauma that is key. And when you're rested, rejuvenated, and then you go to look back on that trauma, you're going to look at it through a different lens than if you're still stressed and anxious, either from that trauma or for something else. And the work that happens when you're on our technology, and this is why, look, after doing this for 10 years, I try and explain to people what they're going to experience. Crystal, I have no idea what you're going to experience when you get on the bed. You are a unique individual having a unique human experience, and you are who you are right now having that experience. If you listen to the same music meditation, same duration tomorrow, you're going to have a different experience because you're a different person. Maybe you peeled back some layers today on a reflection point. Maybe you created some more things that you need to work on in the reflection that you had today that you're going to work on tomorrow. So, why it's so important is because when we're cool, calm, and collected, and by the way, human beings are the only mammal to reflect on their performance. Do you have any animals?
So many.
Okay, cool.
All
Horses,
of
great example. All right, yeah, this is a great example. What does
Yeah,
a
we both
horse
know horses.
What does a horse or a dog do when it gets stressed? How does it move from stressed to relaxed? I'm going to tell you the answer and you're going to be like, that makes so much sense. You know what I mean? They shake it off. They vibrate. Same with a human being. We can jump up and down. You can hop on a rebounder. You can shake out, but we don't do that. That's what our technology does. It shakes every cell in your body. It shakes out the cellular memory. We know what's happening from a science perspective and why that's so powerful. I have a little 4-pound Yorkie. The guy shakes off, like we'll be playing roughhousing. He'll be nibbling and going really fast. And then I'll be like, okay, kisses. And he'll stop and I'll pet him. And then he'll stand up and he'll shake it off. Every animal shakes it off. And by the way, that dog is no longer thinking about past performance. It is right back in the moment of I love you and you're amazing and let's have fun and let's play and let's do it. Human beings are the only mammal to reflect on performance and then hold that emotion from the previous performance in the current moment. And we want to let go of that. We want to just, hey, it happened. It is what it is. It's time for me to move on, take the lessons that I can learn to apply to the future and my current self and move on. And sound and vibration is really powerful. And we've got to dive in on another podcast and we got to talk about what's happening and kind of pick up where we just left off because there's power in this conversation.
We're lucky enough, and Craig has time for us. I want to put on our list that deep research science behind that and more about how we're creating our reality and those deeper states of consciousness and what you've realized through a lot of these practices and journeys, because people are ready for it. People want to hear it. We need to hear the work. I was just doing it this morning. What story am I living in? And how did I just create this, right? And what is showing up for me? And radical accountability, right? And radical expansion. And I know that you are mine in the depths of, I'm so grateful that you are not only the owner and creator of your stuff, but you're showing up for it. It's your face on your socials. It's your email and phone number people get when they want information about this. Like that was something that struck me immediately when I was looking through your things. And I was like, he's accessible to us, which is such a point of service. And so you must be doing something to keep yourself, like I said, accessibility issue, like available and able to offer things like this, not from an empty cup. And so that's impressive and inspiring. And so thank you for all of that. As we end, I'm wondering if you'd be willing on that account to verbally give us the actual places to find you and listen. Website.
As you're taking notes, remember, let's talk about the cup overflowing and let's talk about serving others from your saucer.
Thank you.
Great story. So your cup has to be overflowing for you to serve people. You can't serve from your cup. You got to serve from the saucer. Think of a tea saucer. We can talk about that in depth. And also creating boundaries. And I'll answer in just a moment. Like you literally, my phone number that rings this phone is at the top of my, you can call it day or night, weekday or weekend. And I will do my best to answer. However, I also have boundaries. I also have a family. Sometimes I answer and I say, hey, this is Craig. I only have a couple minutes. Is it something quick? Otherwise, let's reschedule because I want to be there and I want to be accessible. And there's no better person to answer questions. I'm the person that's responding as of now to all of my social media. All of the comments are me. And I prioritize that, answering the phone, being present, answering questions. I'm one of the easiest people to find. In Harmony Interactive, it looks just like that. One word, In Harmony Interactive. We're on the web at iaminharmony.com. Two most important words in the English language, I am, because anything you put after it, you are. So why not be in harmony with the world around you? And yeah, we're on all the socials. We're everywhere, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, we're there. And I'd love to connect, and I'm grateful for our time. Thank you for the fabulous conversation. I look forward to part 2. Seriously.
Thank you. As a true Western yoga practitioner, namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for listening. Connect with me on Instagram at Crystal Zen Yoga. Subscribe on my website at crystalzenyoga.com to receive tools and practices for your holistic journey and to be the first to know about offerings, workshops, trainings, and retreats. We live in powerful times that require courage, bravery, compassion, authenticity, community, and grounding. You're not alone. Check out my free content, classes, and meditations on YouTube under Crystal Zen Yoga and have a beautiful day. Sat Nam.